Woo! There is nothing quite like the day after a Schmodown Spectacular, and then you'll never forget your first with us, because this is the first Schmodown Spectacular review for the Ultimate Schmodown Show, folks. We're here to do it. It's not a Friday. It's not even a Saturday. It's a Sunday night, and we are here, and we're happy you are for joining us. I'm your host today. I'm going to be your host today. Those are words. It's been a long weekend. We all know it. Colin joining me all the way over in LA is my boy, John Barr. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little bit sleepy. I got a new microphone that we just spent 5 to 10 minutes testing, and it fully didn't work, which is fun. I also have a new bottle of alcohol behind me because that's pretty much all I, an adult man, have to decorate my apartment. So obviously my life is going pretty good. Colin, how about you?
Oh, I spent about 4 hours already today with the man in the middle here, and I can't wait to spend a few more with him tonight, breaking down all this glorious Schmodown. It's my co-host on We Have the High Ground, the only Star Wars show you need to be watching on the internet. It's Boggs.
Yes, well, obviously the 4 hour stream plus we did a watch along yesterday with Spin for the Real Guys for like 3 hours. So yeah, it's been a lot. So I am tired as well, of course. Of course, my experience is different to your guys. Like the times, the spectacular started 8 p.m. my time. So yeah, so I watched for till like 10:30 p.m. And then that was just for the teams match. And then I watched a boxing fight, Anthony Joshua, if you guys know Anthony Joshua fight. He won heavyweight world title defense, and then continued on after the teams match till my time. It was about 3:30 a.m. And then I stopped because I knew I had about 4 shows to record today. So I had to sleep as well and then finish the rest. So I stopped just as the Floating Flouse was coming out. So I had to watch the rest this morning. So yeah, anyway, I've had a long day. So yeah, how you doing, Colin?
I've had, just as long of the days, and then I ended up staying up last night after the spectacular with one of my homies, and it was our off season in our Madden league. So we did the draft, and that took some hours. And what is sleep when it's the holiday season and everybody's just having a good time with friends who are off work and stuff who you don't get to hang out with. Sometimes it's nice I'll sacrifice sleep to hang out with the homies, which is what we're all doing right now. But folks are here not to hear us talking about this. They're here to hear us talk about the Schmodown Spectacular. What in the world was going on? That was so much fun. Just overall thoughts. I mean, John, you just finished it more recently than us. Finished those matches today. How was the overall experience for you, top to bottom?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, one of the unfortunate realities of being, like I said, a full adult man, is that I did have work. So there were actually a lot of these matches that I had to watch at like 1.5 or 1.75 speed. So there were a couple times where I had to be like, what even was the answer? Because they said it too quick. What's Christmas Vague? What? But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think pretty much all of the matches delivered on what I was expecting. And I also expected there to be plenty of surprises. I was very happy to see the return of some more storyline stuff. And I know Christian is very proud of the work that he was able to do in putting that back on the board. Definitely some stuff I didn't expect, including also the fact that we've got pretty much the same factions going into next season with one exception, and that this faction war is going to be dialed up to 11, it would seem, particularly in the case of a newly free mercenary Daniel Merle.
Yes, and of course, spoilers going into this talk.
Yes. Oops. Well, I didn't spoil anything. You babies.
Boggs, you and I were together. We were together in the stream for a little while and talking about how much the entertainment value just seemed to be on display. Like it was just over and over and over again, just hitting us with the hits and hits and hits. I know the Star Wars match didn't quite go the way you wanted it to go, But I mean, the rest of the night just had to make up for any bit of disappointment in that result.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll come to that in a bit. Obviously, yeah, I did really, really want Ace to win. Of course, that didn't work out, but I was still entertained. It was still a fun match. It was still dramatic and stuff. So I did enjoy it. But yeah, like John was saying there, like the overall stories I liked. Definitely, we've not had that. Or not had too much of that this season. So bringing that back in between, whilst we were, like the 5 minute in between times, getting the stories and that kind of stuff. So really like that, the post match stuff, having Jen every interview. Like I wish she would have done this all season. Like every title match, she should have done a post match interview. So
obviously, we now realize that's probably like a paycheck thing. That's probably like a budget thing. We understand. We'll do it for free though.
Yeah, like we'll definitely the show's definitely missed her. So yeah, no, it was great night overall. But yeah, definitely lots to talk about. Yeah, there's one thing in particular I want to say, but I'll save that for the right match. But yeah, overall, yeah, no, there's one like important thing that I need to address. That I noticed throughout a certain match that I'm not too. In fact, I'll save it. Yeah, so it's a particular match that I need to address.
Yeah.
But
well, then let's start with the story. Let's start with the storyline. I mean, we'll save the tea. I want to save the tea.
I'm excited.
I know. I really want to hear what happened. Yeah.
I think Bugs and I might have the same brand of tea. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. Andrew Guy finally gets his. We can let's just talk about Guy as a whole. It'd be kind of weird to go back and talk about each individual scene. We can just talk about his journey as a whole throughout the night. Yeah. Claiming to have found someone who is given him information is going to smuggle out a list of people who are involved with the Shmominati. We know that Christian is not involved, and Christian is not involved. We know for sure that Christian is not involved, according to Guy.
Yeah.
Guy makes it to Skybound HQ. Interesting. And then seemingly gets like whacked in the head and drops his camera, and a V for Vendetta-ish masked man picks up the camera. Who's wearing the mask? Boggs, any thoughts on who might be wearing that mask?
Who's wearing the mask? I couldn't care less. No, I'm joking. So not that bad, but yeah, like I've told you guys before, on and off camera, I'm not interested in this storyline at all. But yeah, I mean, was I a bit entertained? Sure. But who was it? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad people enjoy it. Guy seems like he's enjoying himself. He gets to do his, some character work. Because the issue that I have is that this character work led to arguably the worst Schmoedown performance I've ever seen. So I'm not too fond of it. So because I thought they dropped it and I was cool with that, but now it's coming back. But people seem to enjoy it. So listen, if people want it, I'm happy. So but yeah, I'm not too interested in it, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it's who's in a mask, I don't know, is the answer.
I think it's Bateman.
Could be, yeah.
I think this was all a ploy. I think it could have. I think that's fine. I think we might see a reunion of the action the action guys coming back together. That's what I'd like to see. That's kind of in the back of my mind of like, how would you like to bring this whole thing full circle from the wrestling match in Houston to where we're at now? Other than that, I don't really know where else they're gonna go with it, unless it's a damn Merle. That'd be kind of lit. John, would that be lit?
I mean, it would certainly be something. I don't think Dan's got it in him to be the mean guy in the like fleshy Kirby. By the way, they did a great job finding a truly unnerving mask. Let that be said. I doubt it's Bateman, especially because, as we'll talk about later, Bateman's already got himself a little bit of a character shakeup in what he's going on with. But I definitely don't think that you're wrong that Team Action might be coming back in some way. That was something I had talked about believing would be true coming out of the Spectacular. I had thought it would be coming about in a slightly different way, with kind of a Sam Levine being exposed as a member of this whole Shmominati conspiracy, which I don't believe I'm wrong necessarily just yet. Oh, look at that. At the same time, Leo Logan, you get me, buddy. You just get me. Yeah, I mean, it's way too early to really speculate about who's in that mask, you know? But I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Levine somehow pops up in this one way or another, Colin.
Wouldn't surprise me either. When, it seems right up his alley, and I would like to see him return in a bigger presence than he had this year. He was with Ethan, probably more than anyone else, and it's just something about them. They're both kind of Diet Coke. They're both not really no pep in the step. You need full blown sugar high. They both kind of mellow you out, and sometimes in the Schmodown, you either need a mellow manager for the hype, or you need a hypey manager for the mellow person. And they both just seem too mellow. So I'd like to see one of them break out in the opposite way going forward next year. In terms of Shmo Minati, it's going to be a box. I'm with you. Who cares? But if it's all I got right now, I'm gonna eat it up. So,
well, Leo's saying, soon to be ex-manager Sam, but who's to say Sam won't keep Guy? Because Sam hasn't got the. Why?
Because those are the rules.
I thought you can keep 3.
No, the only team that can pick, the only team that's keeping players is Corruption. That's what Christian.
Oh, well, hypothetically, the other factions could all keep 3 people because they'll each get people coming out of free agent signing, which is a thing. But as Christian was saying, like, people can sign and steal away players from other people as far as their locked players going into the draft. So it's one of those things
Andrew
where it's like
can choose to go back to Sam if Sam wants him to be there, but Andrew can also go anywhere else. The only people who for sure right now are locked in are the Champ, Chance, and Mike. That is it. They're the only 3 players locked in right now for sure on that faction.
If that wasn't enough of a warning for you all folks watching at home that we're going to talk about spoilers, you really got to go. Yeah. You really got to get going now.
Like, this is going to be one of the strangest seasons this is going to be weirder than Corruption. This is going to be weirder than the initial tournament. And it's just going to blow everything up. But the one thing that keeps standing still is the dadgum Star Wars division. It is stoic, it is strong, and it is led by the demon himself, Alex Damon. This man. You guys ever gonna not be impressed by him? Or it's almost turned into like the Patriots, like Tom Brady. Like, they just keep winning. They're just so good. It's just over and over and over and over again. I almost expected him to retire. Box would have been kind of crazy. I don't think that would have been too. Just kind of felt like he could have, even when Dan retired the first time, it was kind of out of left field. And I felt like this kind of would have been one of those things where he's like, I don't know what else you guys are going to throw at me at this point.
No, I think now he's in his best kind of era. The division is in his best era, and he has some rivals that he can play back to back, including his wife. So overall, yeah, I mean, obviously we're not going to break down the match specifically like we would normally do. I'm just going to scan through it. But overall, I was quite impressed with that. Obviously, Alex, going nearly perfect the whole 5 rounds. 4 rounds that he answered questions for. But particularly the questions, they were super hard this match. I mean, me and Colin are hardcore Star Wars fans. We can normally hang at least partly in these matches. Even in round 1, I was struggling. It was that hard.
I got 5 in round 1. I got 5.
Yeah, well, I didn't count this much, but yeah, they were stumping people, stumping obviously Ace, all match. But as well, shout out to Roxy. I thought she was like MVP of the whole spectacular, basically, like being in 3 matches. I thought her energy was really good throughout. And yeah, obviously Alex playing Stella. I didn't think he would play that good, to be honest. I didn't think he would play that good. And I thought Ace would need to be nearly perfect as well, which I was hoping for. Obviously didn't work out at all that way. And yeah, you could tell kind of Ace was rattled a little bit, things getting under his skin. Winston trying to settle him didn't really work. But yeah, I can't wait to break this match down with Ace next week when he comes on our show as well. But overall, I was still entertained. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed because I really wanted Ace to win, and the margin was so big. Obviously, he got TKO'd, but yeah, it was still a good match. Still entertained.
Yeah, we'll take the highlight, and Leo, you're right. We're getting right into where I think the match really turned, and if there was ever a chance to keep pace,
Yeah,
it was
big time.
definitely about resource and in the betting round. Yeah, thanks, Leo. In the betting round, and I actually immediately picked up the iPad. I went to the crawl text, and you see resources, and you see food, medicine, hyperfuel, and it was just a misunderstanding, a little confusion. You think you know something so well. He lost me in his argument, though. The way he started arguing it,
Yeah, he didn't articulate it. I
he
think
couldn't
It was just
articulate
in the
correctly.
pressure, in the
Winston
moment.
had
Yeah,
to
he
kind of
just-
come in and decipher it. Just kind of got off his game a little bit, and I felt like that was kind of the message of the day when somebody was out of these matches, because there were moments in most of these matches where players felt like they were out of it. Aside from, I think the odd couple being the one that kind of gives a bit more of a resurging kick, if you would. Roxy giving the kicking the ass, but she gets him here, man. Like the Winston was just, they were all there's back on their heels the whole time. You can't go down to the demon. You just can't. You got to hang with him, and you gotta make him miss. You got to make him make the first move, and he just wasn't. I'm just shocked that he was at some points cocky. And you're right, Box. He is kind of getting into this. He's feeling it. And I like the shots that he took at IG at the beginning. I thought that was pretty different. I hadn't seen that side of him before, where he was like, "Oh, screw it. I'm done with IG. That was just me dipping the toes. Now I'm back. Now I'm here. I was just trying to get points for us just to get points. And no one expected me to do it." But he comes in and he's just so dang solid the whole time. There's just nothing you can really do about it. And Ace just felt confused the whole time. And I mean, what was the first one he got wrong? What was question 6? That
Omar
was
Monk, Return of the Jedi.
like what? Like, Boggs, what is that? Do you know what that is?
No, don't believe so. What was the question again? Sorry.
It was the
That was
name of the
yeah.
monk order in Return of the Jedi.
No. No
It
idea.
was, yeah. I was like, what?
No.
He didn't even understand what the question was at some point. Then he answered one question just completely different. And then the real life swordsman, Bob Anderson, that was a hard question for round 1. I mean, Boggs, did you know that?
No.
We host a Star Wars show, folks, every week, Fridays, called We Have the High Ground. It's like, what? Some of these are just out of control. Both of them just, I mean, I'm kind of mad that Alex didn't pick the Clone Wars. That was kind of my one thing about this match. I wish he would have picked the Clone Wars just to flex. But TKO, Rockstars sealed the Corruption's win for the title. So it's kind of cool. They had all the members of Corruption were watching just to see who won, and then they got crowned faction champions. So our final thoughts on this one, John, when we get more into it next
I
week.
I have quite a few thoughts just to do quick bullet points on, because again, we're not doing full breakdowns right now. We're going to be doing those as those matches actually become publicly available. Don't you worry. But right now, we're trying to stick to highlights right now. We're not going too deep. So I'd say definitely no, Cabrera is not a slouch by any means. If you look at the actual number of questions he got wrong, he only got 4. And I agree that he kind of got lost in the weeds of that challenge. And it was very much one of those things where I think he was just kind of like, this is where I got to make a stand. So I get it from a strategic standpoint. But yeah, when you're in a division like Star Wars that has a competitor like Damon, it's hard for anybody to be able to get past that. And Damon, like he said, this is what he does all day, is even when he's not competing about Star Wars, he's just learning more about Star Wars. He knows more about Star Wars than many people will forget. And Ace is one of those competitors that's like a rookie who had a phenomenal first season in his division, but he took a loss. Lots of people take losses and then bounce back stronger. Kevin Smets being a notable example. So I've got no worries about Ace. I'm sure he'll be back. Though obviously before then we'll have either a match between Laura Kelly and Molly Damon, and then them going up against Alex at some point, or maybe Andrew, or maybe Alex will go up against Andrew and the two of them. Who knows? There's so much happening in Star Wars, so that'll be interesting to see how even crazier the questions get. As far as the faction thing, it was a little anticlimactic that it got decided so dang early. I was also a little bit thrown off by the kind of combined StreamYard of everybody in Corruption, where it was like exactly what was going on there. Like I didn't get it at first. I was just like, oh, are they all here? But no, it was just like some brief little shots of them. Congratulations to Corruption. They fully deserved that faction win. But yeah. It was crazy. What about you, Boggs? What do you have left to say before we bounce back to a little story beat that happened actually before this match?
Yeah, just the overall thing for Ace. Just obviously, he's one of my players of the year through the journey that he's been on. Losing in a geekdom, then the fantastic tournament. A lot of the matches live as well on Twitch, so more pressure. And they're coming through that, and obviously he didn't have the momentum coming in for this match, and I think that would have helped if he played if there wasn't such a big gap maybe. But yeah, I mean Alex just showed how good he is really, so credit to him. But overall, so just at the end there, I didn't really agree with as well to me they've left it with, it's up to Alex if he wants to how he wants to address the number one contender situation, whether it was them play a three-way or the winner plays Diamante. For one, it shouldn't be up to Alex. Yeah, he's the champion, but you guys as the league decide what the number one contender situation is. Secondly, what's Ace doing in this? Ace has beaten all of them. Why is he not in the at least contender situation to get back to a number one contender shot, to get his rematch? So a couple of things there that just seem odd, which they normally have locked before. They confirm that to the public, that kind of stuff. So a bit of a weird situation for me, but overall, yeah, it was a good match, a decent start. Obviously not the result I wanted, but yeah, still enjoyed it.
Well, to go through our picks, Boggs picked Ace, John picked Alex, and Colin picked Alex. Hey, John. High five.
Hey, we're just dunking on poor Boggs. But yeah.
Yeah. The dunking isn't
Boggs.
Done yet. But
Fine.
First, before we get to Jericho versus Brittany Young, we had a little story beat. John, what happened?
That's right. Brandon Hanna, Colin's favorite guy, he showed up and he was saying, hey, you guys got to stop being so mad at me because I'm the one who's going to be mad. And then somebody off camera was like, hey, shut up. Let me show you how to do it. And then Sabrina Ramirez stepped in. And she's decided she's had about enough of this too. And she made it pretty clear that she seems to be severing ties with Finstock and is hitching her wagon specifically to her dear Brandon Hanna. I don't know exactly what that's going to mean. Matt Thomas, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going to be going on with the combination of Brandon Hanna and Sabrina Ramirez. Like, that's a pretty bold thing to state before the season has begun and before you know what faction you're on, especially since now neither of them are going to be with the managers they were with last season. So it's a bold strategy, Cotton, but let's see how it pays off. And that's a movie reference.
Well, Pepper,
that's right. That's the other name of the person in the movie. Yeah, I mean, it's again kind of like the Schmominati. It's a little too early to call. It feels a little bit like if before the draft, Makuga and Dewberry were like, "This is the Wildberry season," because then going into it, it very much was not. But it could be fun. Sabrina was good in her first match. Brandon Hanna, I don't really have that much beef with the guy, so I'm interested to see what he gets up to. I know Colin would disagree with me on the latter, but hey, they're trying to be Mike and Shannon without the clout to pull it off. I mean, listen, it's not even a question of clout. It's just a question of actually being sure that you'll be together next season. You know what I mean? because like
It's
they
not
just
their decision, right? It's like you would have to then go around and like sell yourself, like pitch meeting, like Silicon Valley style. Like, hello, we are Sabrina and Brandon. Would you like us to be on your team? But we only come together as a group package. And
I mean, Sam
sorry.
Levine is floundering enough for an inner geekdom person that maybe he'll be like, oh, I do have to think about other divisions and more than one player. So maybe Sam will actually be like, hey. But again, that's still very up in the air. So we don't know. We don't know what the future will hold.
What we do know is that Jericho made his return to the Schmodown, going up against Brittany Young. And boy, oh boy, what a match. That was way more fun than I thought it was going to be competitively. I thought Brittany was going to get ahead much sooner, and Jericho really kept pace. Some of these movies felt like the first round questions were very like, I bet Chris Jericho might know this one. And like, they were all very like 80s action dramas type stuff where he was like, ooh, I know this one. It was pretty much she kept par. They both kept with each other 6-6 at the end of round one, guys. I mean, this was just a real good match. It was kind of nice to have a couple 3-rounders in there, you know, just a little nice little say quickie, but yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Box, what do you think about this one? Or sorry, whoever.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I figured this was gonna be a fun match. I figured this would probably be the same level of entertainment and competitiveness that we got from Jericho versus Kevin Smith a little while back. Yeah, it was a fun time, you know, pretty competitive across the board. Obviously, round 2 did not go the way either competitor I think really wanted. But that just kept the stakes nice and high, baby. And especially in round 3 where we got some of the, like Christian mentioned, that like Stacey Howard, Josh McCouga magic with the pulls from both of them. Like, it just makes me excited to see what both of these competitors do next season, since we do know they both want to be in this game next season, and we know that they are good in this game, and we all like seeing them in this game. It was also nice that now friend of the show, Kaiser, could again go off on a high note for the dungeon. Still firmly at number 8 in the faction rankings, mind you. But he, again, coming off of a win. The ladies of the dungeon are not to be trifled with. That's kind of the big takeaway, I would say, from this season, is that if you are a lady and you have hitched your wagon to Kaiser, you are going to wreck a lot of people's shops. You're going to be going into some taverns and knocking some things over, and we thank you for it.
Leo coming in saying
I
Jericho.
know, poor Richard Jenkins, the father of the Step Brothers.
I really enjoyed seeing the competitive side of both of these people come out. I really liked it where Jericho's getting into it, like Richard. Who the heck is Richard Jenkins? You know, Brittany slipping up on some of the older stuff, and then coming through on. I mean, like, what a pull for Christmas Vacation! What a pull that he had for Jamie Kennedy. And it was just a good old time. Boggs, I hear you pick Chris Jericho.
I did.
How are you taking it?
Hey, no, I didn't mind, man. It was a good match. So, yeah, shout out to Kaiser. I was so glad he could go back and forth with Jericho, because, you know, we said that before. Like, you know, that's like once in a lifetime experience to do that. Talk smack to him, he gives it back to you. So yeah, definitely enjoyed that. Obviously Jericho, you know, he knows his stuff, man. Like, you know, getting 6th in the round, but again, super impressed with Brittany. The issue is, you know, we were, like I said, we were doing a watch along with the Spin for the Real guys. Shout out to them. And we were saying that definitely Jericho should have stuck with famous actors and actresses in round 2, because, you know, maybe he would have got a few softballs there, but I think he landed on, was it dramas? If I remember. Yeah, so a lot harder for him in particular, which obviously Brittany stole some. I think she stole 3. So so that got, I mean, neither of them had great round 2s, and then Brittany getting the Christmas Vacation one in round 3 to win the match. So yeah, she played great, and obviously he didn't know the core question. Yeah, but that kind of set me up for the rest of the night, thinking, okay, there's another, you know, 4 more matches after this. So I was prepared to go late into the night after this, because it was super fun, and enjoyed Roxy as well. Again, going back and forth with Kaiser, and Kaiser going with Jericho, and yeah, it was super fun. And even Jericho taking shots at Mark and what he's wearing and stuff. So and yeah, enjoyed it. nice tempo to it, and super surprised by Brittany Young and how well she played. But yeah, she definitely deserved it. She great steals in round 2, so good on her.
It's a fun game.
Heck
Take
yeah,
me to the
Brittany
5.
Young.
Take me to the 5. Guess who picked Brittany Young? Colin John.
True.
We're doing well,
us, the
John.
boys.
Yes.
We're doing well.
The boys.
Moving on down to the teams. Oh my God.
Well, before we get into this, also let's make sure that we talk about. Speaking of teams, there's a team that's not a team anymore.
Oh right.
It's who's the boss,
They broke
and
up.
that's dear Mark Riley and Ben Bateman. And this was the moment where I was like,
Riley.
"That's right." And this was the moment where I was like, "Listen, based on Andrew Guy's performance in recent matches, I don't know if Ben the Boss Bateman, who's back on his heel winner shtick, is going to be feeling like he wants to dip down back to his old partner." But I mean, the idea of a more competitive, angry Ben Bateman coming back, I don't mind that one bit, especially because it was that kind of energy that really helped Ben skyrocket. And I guess it would have been Anarchy and then kind of like post-Anarchy Schmodown when he did wind up getting split off from Andrew Guy, first teamed up with Mark Riley. I mean, it is sort of that thing where it's like, hey, maybe it's the fact of something new, a little bit of a shakeup. If it took him having a new partner in Mark Riley to be as good as he was last time, maybe it will now be having not Mark Riley will be another big shakeup. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is going to be a moment where Ben really kind of comes back in full force? And also, what about Mark? Do we think that this is going to be the thing for Mark as well?
Go ahead, Box.
Okay. So yeah, I definitely like the Ben energy. You know, I like when people have success in a certain character and then reverting back to it personally. So yes, I definitely like the heel work for him because you know it brings through character work, it brings through scenes, it brings through additional entertainment with your personality, which I think is necessary, and you should try and do, especially if you're a top player, in terms of all-round entertainer. I think I definitely like that stuff. So yeah, obviously Riley's like the ultimate face. So yeah, it was a tense thing. Like he crushed you a little bit as he was doing it. So yeah, it was and that kind of evil laugh at the end. No, I definitely appreciate it. Like the scene. So yeah, interesting where he's gonna go next year and who with what he's playing, unless it's obviously an Andrew Guy thing. So we'll see about that. But yes, I definitely liked it.
Yeah, and it is interesting, as Leo Logan points out, obviously Bateman was taking plenty of shots at Mark Riley, but if you look at that record, it's less of a good record. Especially considering
I needed you. You were there for me, and I needed you.
That's all I heard from Ben for a little while. He just sounded like he was so moany and complaining. But
Ben
most of it was his. Right. Yeah. He take responsibility. Can't do that.
Well, if that's not a great segue into at least my thoughts on this team's business, I don't know what is. Yeah. Yeah, that's my brand of tea, Boggs. How about you? Is this what you wanted to talk about?
Sure. To be honest, the teams match, now that you mention it, the teams match was, I think it was my favorite match of the night. So neck and neck with the main event. But yes, I think, I mean, having Jeff Schneider become, the first 3-time champion with Roxy as well. I've addressed it before. I really like her management style, especially with them. Some people think it's just, pandering or whatever, but no, I definitely think it works for them. So yeah, it was very surreal watching Shazam miss their questions in the 5th round, being the better team throughout the match, keeping that lead, and these guys kind of almost gave up. And then, because, I think that's a skill, making, you being confident in hitting your 5-pointer. So I think because obviously Jeff's beat in the singles tournament, he beat Oyama and Ethan by them not hitting their 5-pointer. So he's hit his, he's behind, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 points behind, and he's hit his 5-pointer, and they've not managed to hit their 5-pointer, and he's won via that method. It's also worked in this title match. So yeah, it's extra dramatic. Love the passion, and very happy that he's the first 3-time champion. I said it before this tournament. I said it right at the start of the season. He is one of my favorite players of all time. So finally, he's getting the credit that he deserves. And yeah, so shout out to them. I love this match and love the passion at the end and stuff like that. So shout out to Shazam as well. They played great. They were the better team for like 4.5 rounds. But yeah, they Schneider, good on you.
Boggs, you're really not going to like what I have to say.
I know.
You're really not going to like what I have to say.
Okay, so I need to go to the bathroom. If you can drop me out for a minute, please.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Hold that thought. I want to hear it, John. Hold that thought.
Oh,
We can
sure.
vamp. We can vamp. I got you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because we can talk about as well, first off, the performance of Shazam. It's one of those things where it's a strong match all the way throughout. They played a good game. They looked like champions, even if they did not wind up becoming champions. Obviously, as they kind of pointed out, with a lot of Jim Henson questions getting tossed their way, I think it was kind of one of those things where they're kind of vacillating between like, oh yeah, we're doing well at this category, so maybe we're going to be like, okay. But then the more that category goes on, the more questions and the deeper the cuts get, especially when it's like Muppet Christmas Carol came up like 2 or 3 times. So I think that was part of the downfall. And then again, obviously we could whine and moan about the difference in difficulty level of these questions, because obviously that 5-pointer was absolutely brutal. But the luck of the draw is part of the game. Like they chose the number that corresponded to that question. So I don't really have beef with that element of the game. Like that was a brutal 5-pointer. They kind of got put in what seemed like a no-win situation. And yet we've seen competitors pull answers out of thin air before, notably in the match before. So, it was one of those things where it wasn't over until it's over, but I definitely thought Shazam played a heck of a game. Real quick, Leo Logan, the American Hustle microwave question, and one of Emily Blunt's nicknames in Edge of Tomorrow, yikes. It gave me Merle Bateman 2 vibes. I completely feel you on that, Leo Logan, for sure, where it did seem like the match was kind of done at one point, and then suddenly it was kind of back to being on the table. I was kind of thinking American Hustle, but I don't know if I would have been able to pull that in time, and in no world would I have gotten that Edge of Tomorrow question. Yeah, Colin, I think you're in great, like, it's, first of all, I don't like calling women the B word, and I think that's one of the 2 nicknames is just B word made of iron or whatever. Stone mad woman. Like, no, I'm not going to be able to get that. That's just a rude thing to say to another human being. What about you, Colin? Oh, Boggs is back.
Boggs.
What do you want to say first?
So, Jeff Schneider, I love you. Thank you for everything you've given us over the years. And that's it. So, super happy for the triple, 3-time teams champion.
So let's just go through before John destroys, our relationships.
I'm waiting.
All 3 of us.
Me and Boggs are never friends again after this.
All 3 of us did pick Odd Couple, and Sean picked Shazam, and then the spread that we gave was 0.5 point in favor of the Odd Couple. So,
is that true?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The spread was 0.5 point. So
look at that.
We were pretty spot on. The Brittany Young match and Jericho, I think we called it a pick'em. Damon and Ace, we had it at 3.5. So that's not too far off, right? I think it was not.
I agree with what Leo's saying in the chat there, particularly Shazam's. Is it the 2 and the 5 was super hard?
Yeah.
And so even for a 2.0 as well, like I felt for the kid on that. So
and PJ Campbell got into it with one of our guys been in chat, Tim Sim, talking about how he said it was meme to death on the internet about the science of, what was it called? What did they call? What was it in the question? The microwave? The science? What?
Oh, sure. The whatever. I don't remember. I don't.
Right,
know.
but whatever it was, he said it was meme to death on the internet. So that's why in his justification, it was a 2-pointer. It was a popular quote.
Sure.
Okay.
I was kind of lost when I saw that. I was like, but that's the difference between a lot of the people that watch this come from different perspectives. Winston says the same thing later on. A science oven. Thank you, Leo. Winston says the same thing in the Inner Geekdom match. when Chance can't pull Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. He's 24 years old and whose parents didn't have the VHS for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the house and watched it religiously. And for some people, those are just your gaps, right? And Brendan especially had a couple of those at the beginning of this match, but boy, did he bounce back. That's one thing that cannot go unnoticed throughout when we talk about this match, and we'll definitely get into it when we do in a couple weeks. But Brendan Meyer showed that, that's some cojones right there, man. I mean, you drop 2 questions and then have them fall back to you, and you're able to be confident like that just to continue out the first round. Keep Bibbs going and getting that perfect round. But boy, John, take it away.
I got a lot of love for Roxy Stryer and the way that she's managed throughout the season. I think it's totally fair, this new narrative of her being in contention for Manager of the Year, if not perhaps one of the best picks for it. I think she's done a great job with all of her competitors. I'm incredibly happy with the way Mark Andreyko performed as well. Obviously, he kind of got down on himself at the end there, but he really stuck through it all the way. And this was like his first spectacular. This is like one of the first, he's been able to win belts twice now with the Odd Couple.
Mhm.
And just seeing the moment between him and Bibiani, that was absolutely incredible. I really love to see that. In no world did Jeff Snyder deserve this win. In no world, based on his performance, that was some of the most childish shit I've ever seen in my life. Do you remember in round 5 when Jeff Snyder out of the blue suddenly screeched, "I'm playing," during the middle of the match? That was not cute. That was not funny. That was absolutely no. That was awful, dude. That was awful. You know for a fact he was screeching at Roxy Stryer because Roxy Stryer was in the private chat saying, "Hey, can you be in the for 5 minutes?" And then not only was he pulling up his hood during the match, he pulled out his phone. Are you fucking kidding me? If that was an in-studio match, dude would have been booted. This guy was an absolute fucking crybaby throughout the entirety of the match. He absolutely fell apart, as we often talk about him doing. He's simply a baby. He's got to learn to control his emotions and act like an adult, because this was embarrassing. And that's part of why I almost wish the Odd Couple didn't win, because the idea that Jeff Snyder walks away from this performance with any other thought than, wow, I embarrassed myself and I need to act like a real person, is upsetting to me, because that means we're setting ourselves up for another god-awful, wishy-washy Jeff Snyder performance. Dude is a clown. I got no respect for him.
Yeah, I definitely was not a fan of the way he handled the speed round.
Yeah, absolute buffoon.
I'm really pissed that we did not get to see
That's the second time he's done that, right? As
the
well.
conversation.
Another question because his internet.
He needs to get some headphones.
Yeah. Even though we can see him, he answers the. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah.
They gave him a shot at again covering it, but he was just too busy in his poor me. I've already lost the match, so he didn't even try for that final speed. You can see again, it's the same shit where it's he barely won against Ethan Irwin. This is the thing, man. Again, obviously the questions are what they are, so I'm not the 5-pointer for Shazam should have been easier and they should have won. No, of course not. Shazam picked that number. They got that 5-pointer, totally above board. I get why Odd Couple won. And again, many, many props to Roxy and Mark Andreyko. Dear God, do I wish they could unhitch their wagon from Jeff Snyder, because he is a child.
Well, so children love to play games, and he's great at this one. So going into IG, we had Ultimate Schmodown Show Civil War, our 2 most popular guests. Nice. Chandru versus Chance. His name is Chandru. Am I correct? Not Chandru?
No. So his actual name is Chandru, but the English pronunciation is Chandru. So Chandru.
Okay.
Yeah, Chandru is fine. Yeah.
Okay. Because everyone's saying it different.
I know.
So
I would say Chandru.
His name is also not Chance too, but that's a story for. Oh my God! I just
Trust me, that's what I want to say. But sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, please. because it's
Yeah,
kind of annoying.
I think we should talk about the match first, then obviously address the.
Oh well, the match was.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, we not gonna go through the whole thing. Chance got his own song. I thought that was pretty dope. That was a new Chance song.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like a special Chance song. That was pretty hype.
Check that out. I didn't see.
I really enjoyed. Well, I didn't really pop in for the. I did really like Shannon popping in question 10 in round 1. That was kind of stupid. And then I really also did not like them trying to challenge Farm from Justice League. I thought that was super petty. I thought that was really unnecessary. And I think the rule should be just like in the NFL. If you challenge and lose, you lose a timeout. So you should lose a JTE if you lose a challenge.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, because I think that puts a little more stakes on them just hopping and be like, oh, you think we should do something? Like, God, I can't wait for studio matches. I hate this bullshit of you got 60 seconds to talk to your people, and then Christian comes in and cuts them off. Like, as he's like, okay, you realize sometimes they're talking for 15 seconds, and then sometimes they're talking for like 48. And he makes the people that talk for 15 seconds feel like they've been talking for an hour and a half and they need us to wrap it up. I'm like, God, it doesn't work. And you got to put the timer at the top of the screen again. If you're going to do the 60 seconds, put it in the 60 seconds timer thing. Because if not, it doesn't work. It's unnecessary. Nothing ever gets said. They can talk while the wheel's spinning. Every bit of conversation is usually 40 seconds of, man, John Barr, you're great. You handled that round so great. That's why I picked you. That's why I was so proud of the way that you played in this match. And you're just going to keep doing what you do. You're a killer. You're this.
And by that point, I've already got the opponent's choice.
And by that point, 40 seconds down, I'm like, so how are you doing? And it's like, yes, you please talk.
Yeah, I mean,
5, 4, 3.
I will say, for me, first up, what's up, Guy? That's right. I shaved my head recently enough that I felt like I had little enough hair that I could show it off on camera, and you can't get my full friggin' unicorn haircut. So, hello, this is me. Welcome to me. Welcome to Marwin. I felt like the challenge felt very in line with Chandru's style of play, to be quite honest. And for me, especially in divisions like Inner Geekdom and Star Wars, where so much of it is the friggin' nitty gritty at this point, because what else is there to ask but nitty gritty? I kind of felt like, hey, fair enough. Again, similar to Ace's challenge, where I'm just kind of like, or no, actually not similar to Ace's challenge, because Ace's was more like this was kind of a need to win minute, where he was like, if I can get this 6-point deficit now. Struck, I get that, whereas this was more just kind of Chandra just going let me just style on him real quick. So I mean, I was kind of curious, Boggs, what were your thoughts on that challenge specifically?
Well, firstly, on the round 1, I think that's what, I mean, it's easy to say, but I think that's what cost Chance, really. Him getting 5 out of 10, and I think Chandra got 8, right? So I mean, the match 5-point difference the whole way through.
8 to 5.
So,
yep.
Yeah, he done really well to obviously keep that just stay in the match by keeping it to 5 points. So so obviously that meant in every other round he played really well, but it cost him. I mean, I did feel quite deep in round 1 in a Geekdom, which is why Chandru obviously missed some as well. But leading up to that challenge, I think so. Obviously, Chances gave the answer. Chandru has asked Winston to come in. As they were talking, I felt Winston has taken charge of that situation and said, yes, I want to challenge. Because Chandru didn't say, because even Christian said, oh, what is it that you want to do? And then Chandru said, oh, I want to talk about it. And then Winston said something, and then Christian said, okay, so what do you want to do? And then Winston said, yeah, I want to challenge. So Chandru's not actually addressed it with Winston. There's been back and forth between Winston. So I don't think he was actually going to challenge. I think he was on the fence, and then Winston took over. So I mean, obviously it's a petty challenge either way. It didn't go his way, rightfully so as well. I agree, but we said it to Chance. I think even we said it to Chandru, he was going to do that all day. He's looking at. I mean, this contributes to his to Chandru's overall gameplay. I think Chandru is lethal in Inner Geekdom, especially after this match. In any kind of category, any round. this guy is lethal. Like I can't see a player at the moment is better than him and Inagita. He's that good. Like he's also looking at your the way you write on your board, the strategy, the challenges, like every single thing is on point with this guy, and you can tell it's rehearsed, you can tell it's researched, and that's how kind of intense and serious he's taking it. And I love it. I love a player who's on that level. And yeah, obviously Chance tried to keep pace. He's done really well. Just keep it at 5 points, but yeah, Chandru, I mean, smiling and laughing throughout as well, taking shots. I mean, I was thoroughly entertained by Chandru as well, singing the wig and everything, and still getting point like
I was really
playing
annoyed by
so
the
well.
wig.
Yeah, it's a weird wig, but sure. But yeah, like for me, he has showmanship. For me, he's an entertainer and he can play, man. Like maybe being the first player to defend the Inner Geekdom title after all these great players have not done so, because. Yeah, I just think he's lethal in Inner Geekdom at the moment. So, and he's up there for Player of the Year for me. But yeah, I want to address a couple of things about this match that I wasn't happy with. Left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. Two things really. So number one is what you've mentioned, Colin. There is that Mark and Christian have called Chandru Chance 4 times in this match, 4 times, and they called Chance Chandru twice. Like these guys are playing for the title. Of obviously Chandru's coming off the win against probably the most beloved player of all time. Yeah, he has a lot of the community against him. It's a massively precious situation. It's like me calling you John on John. Let's say I'm calling you Mike constant 4 times on this live stream. Not once. Okay, once is fine, but again and again and again and again. I mean, and to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why you can't see my name on here, but I use Boggs because again, I don't know if I'm being over dramatic here, but obviously. Boggs is my nickname. It's my real life nickname for my surname. But I also do not, like Chandru, I do not have a Christian name, right? So I know people get it wrong. I know people will spell it wrong. So for that reason, I use a nickname. And for even though it's an easy pronunciation, right? So is Chandru. But for them to continuously call him Chance, it's like, come on, man. Like he's the one guy in the whole game out of 100 players that doesn't have a Christian name. You've known the guy for 2 years, you must have had how many hundreds and of hours of phone calls, face-to-face conversations with him. Why are you getting his name wrong 4 times in a title match for the first player to make a defense of an Inner Geekdom title? It is so frustrating. And that was my first point. Okay, second point is Jen's interview. I don't know if anyone noticed. So Jen's first question that she asked Chandru, okay, so when Jen interviewed Jeff, right, I'm paraphrasing, right? The question was something along the lines of, oh, congratulations, you're the first 3-time team champion. You're up there with some of the best teams players we've ever seen. Okay, paraphrasing, right? That's what she said. To Chandru, she said, how do you feel now that since you've defended the title, how do you feel that you belong with the other Inner Geekdom greats? She didn't say you are you're the first player to defend. You are up there with the greats. She didn't say you belong with them. She goes, how do you feel that you belong with them greats? Like, why does he not deserve to be with Mike or Rich Cushing or Mark Opic or Smets? He's done better than they ever have in terms of defending a title, right? And he's beaten Smets, who's arguably the best all-time player. So why have you not said that he's the best? Like, like you belong there? Like what? Like watch the match back, right? She says, how do you feel that you belong with them players? No, say that you are with them players, or how is it that that you deserve to be with them? Something along them lines, right? So I just thought, like, what kind of question is that? Like, how do you feel that you belong with them? Like, as if to say, I don't feel that you belong with them. Like, what's this unfair treatment of the guy? Like, I've noticed.
I don't know if that's necessarily unfair. I just think she hasn't been here all year. I think a lot of that has been she hasn't been here all season. I guarantee she hasn't watched the matches, and a lot of it is based off experience from last year. And I think you just gotta, at some point, it's a long fucking day. You gotta give these guys the benefit of the doubt at some point that she did. I don't think she meant disrespect. I've heard
it before from her on backstage and stuff. She's had numerous shots at him. And like I said, I'm a fan of hers, absolutely 100%. Well, it's not the first time I've heard her take this kind of shot at Chandru. And she's not the only one. Other people do it as well. And I think he's the only player in the game that has this kind of treatment. And I don't appreciate it. But it seems to be accepted. So, this is the kind of stuff that Chandru has to deal with other players don't. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Leo said he's a heel. Heels got to take
I-
it. If you want to throw shit, you got to be able to take it back.
That's part
I
of
mean,
it. Well, not
I'll
from
step
the
in here a little
announcement.
bit. Yeah, because I kind of agree with Boggs on both his points. First off, with the Chance and Chandru, like yeah, especially if it is the correct pronunciation is Chandru, like that means they both don't start with Chan, Leo. But then also again, like if we want to play that game, it's like Boggs's comparison of John and Colin, like those are both similar like first syllables, but it's like still two entirely different names, one with two syllables, one with one. Like I do think it's a fair point to bring up again, especially because it is something that is kind of unique to Chandru, and it is kind of that question of I wonder what that is. And also reminds me of a moment from earlier in the season where we did kind of see a similar situation with Adam Klavic, where like one of the bits about like one player that went up against him, I forget who, but like their bit was like, oh, how do you even say this name? Like his whole bit about like talking trash about Adam Klavic was mispronouncing his name. And I think it kind of hits back at some of the issues
That's
that
why
we
that
have.
person hasn't returned to the Schmodown.
Sorry?
That's why that person isn't in the Schmodown anymore, because they weren't good at it.
No, but the person is still in the Schmodown. I know who it is. Yeah, it was the Barbarian. If you watch the Barbarian's promo, I don't know why I acted like I didn't remember.
I would say that the Barbarian probably hasn't done a lot of his. He might have been fed lines for his first promo, which I think that wasn't it? That would have been his first match. That was our first.
No, because his
the
first
IG match
first. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did. That was his first IG match, right? The first digital one.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, it's something that's popped up before, and like I was saying, it also I think hits back at how the Schmodown community has had to continuously been like sat down and told, hey, stop being especially shitty to female competitors. Because there is a certain, not every Schmodown fan, obviously, in case I have to say that, but there's a fair contingent where the bias is very clearly skewed towards the white men are beloved and can kind of do whatever they want. But then if someone non-white or someone non-male gets up to some shenanigans, like say Rachel Cushing, or no, not Rachel Cushing, Rachel Silvestrini, kind of getting up to some antics, but then also with Rachel Cushing continuously kind of getting those shots at the belt, which she deserved, and a lot of people trying to downplay her like ability. Like, it's something that happens. I think Boggs is completely right to call it out. You can argue the syllable nature, but again, like especially in a title match, in a match that has had this much lead in, where you're saying these guys' names so many times, like it is kind of like happens that often during the match. Yeah, I feel you, Boggs.
Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know why I'm being so passionate about it, but it's just that he is the most different player in the game, right? Like, why is he like? It's just like I see it I see it a lot. Put it that way. So
it is because he's different, though, Boggs. He takes it from it. It's because he's different. The dude went on the fucking Schmodown group and posted a terrible video of him singing at Chance. That was one of the most so that dude, he's gonna receive because he throws it around. So as long as he keeps defending it, and as long as he keeps defending the belt, people are gonna keep throwing shit at the king, right?
I mean,
if you aim at the king, you best not miss. But everyone keeps missing, and you might not like his reign, but it's weird. It's just different. We don't know. It's a completely different breed of player. It's a completely different breed from anyone else we've ever seen. It's Ben Bateman combined with some other level of, I don't know, burlesque that it's just like taken to a whole other notch where every night it's Moulin Rouge and you don't know what you're gonna get. It's crazy.
I mean, here's what I'll say on this, because certainly I think Colin is right that like the fact that so many people keep taking shots at Chandru, like I gotta be honest, I think some part of it has to do with some backstage shenanigans that we will never be privy to.
Sure.
Like, I think there's probably some part of that, so it's not fair to speculate on that. I think it is fair to say, yeah, Chandru's a heel, so people are going to hate on him. Like, I think that is a fair thing to say, because that's like the specific character choice that he's gone with. Like, I don't think it's, out of line to be like, no one's ever allowed to say anything mean about Chandru. Certainly, that's not the argument here. Name shit should be off the table, right? Like that, in my mind, that's like an obvious, like, hey, you want to talk about their like personality, go for it. You want to talk about the matches and records and what have you, or their absolutely corny videos, 100%. Don't make jokes about dude's name, because that's taking it outside of like the player and getting into like the personal, the cultural shit. Like that's
Oh, yeah.
absolutely below the belt. Like, I think we all agree on that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. That's the past stuff.
yeah.
That's the past
It's
stuff. That's the
frustrating.
past.
One last thing, it's just frustrating. Like someone like, let's say the singles title match, Dan Moore or Adam Collins will never have to worry about being called a different name whilst you're playing a title match 4 times. Like it's mad frustrating. It's mad. Imagine being him being called. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, but I do think. Okay. Can I just say this? I will just say this, Boggs, just to appease people who if he was playing somebody named Chance was playing somebody named Chelsea, that's gonna happen. They said their names. I'll go back and count how many times they said their names correctly. It was a lot of times. They said Christian talks way too much during these things. He goes, okay, Chance, coming over to you. And then, okay, Chance, over to you. And Mark and him say the same thing over and over and over again. How many times do they repeat themselves and get tripped up? These, they are doing, I think a lot of this has to do with like broadcasting. That these, like, neither of these guys are trained broadcasters. They came into this naturally. So I'm giving them a little slack on, like, it happened, you said 8 times and 2 times or 4 times?
6 times in total.
6 times and 2. Okay. Yeah. It was a little, most of the time it was in pass off from when Christian would hand it over to Mark and Mark would get confused because he thought he just heard somebody's name and then got out of whack. I get most of it, but a lot of it is they were saying their names a lot and did not need to be saying their names a lot. And because they are speaking English, it's just how the words work. And it just like, I get it. But to a certain extent, I'm like, my broadcasting side is defending the broadcasters who are just like,
sure. But again, again, it's one of those things where it's like, if name shit wasn't something that had a bit of a history, like, I think then it'd be less of a conversation.
Right, but it wasn't like they were doing it to spite him. You took it back to the thing about the Barbarian, and he was using that as a joke. These guys were not using it as a joke. They were just fumbling over their words in a broadcast.
I could tell you is that was something that happened and then completely just was left under the radar. Like, no one really said anything about it. And you talked about the one guy that's not part of the game anymore. That had nothing to do with it. And it is just that sort of thing where
it's not knowing who you were talking about. So I apologize.
Because I have a full sentence I wanted to say. It just betrays, to a certain degree, it seems like the folks don't really care. And you can argue all you want about how, yeah, maybe it's like a broadcasting thing. But like the fact that it just seems to betray this general idea of just, it's not really something that we ever have to worry about. Like, I don't think that's genuine. Like, I think you do have to look at it and be like, yeah, if there's this whole thing where it's like no one cares, regardless of what way these people's names don't get said properly. Like, even if you want to argue about the intent behind it, like, I think it is fair to be like, hey, this should not happen. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with actually saying people's names should be said correctly. And again, specifically when it comes down to this is the match where it's happening the most with the least Christian name, as Boggs specifically pointed out. Like, I do actually think that's a fair critique. And again, hopefully, again, I don't know if I have to say this. Obviously, I'm not calling Christian and Mark monsters. Obviously, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, gentlemen, just try a little bit harder. Because again, when you have a platform this big and when you are fully trying to put in the effort to be a diverse channel, like, absolutely props to you on that. Props to letting Chandru come in and be able to show off his stuff. And of course, to be clear, win on his own merits. But like, fully respect the players then.
Yeah,
I do not believe it was their intent in disrespect. Whereas when your point to the Barbarian was he was intentionally disrespecting a man using his name. And I don't believe that that's what they were doing here. That's
what I said, Colin.
Okay.
I had a whole sentence. And you just, oh boy. Let's talk about the next thing, huh? Mara Kanopik versus Chandru. Oh boy. I mean, if you want to talk about beloved inner geekdom players, that's right, Leo. You and I, we're on the same wavelength, Leo. You and I, soulmates. If you want to talk about Chandru beating beloved inner geekdom players, whoo boy, I feel like him going up against Mara, who's kind of like got this very weird reputation now, as like kind of like a Titan who is out as quickly as she was in. Like, I feel like this is going to be super interesting because now we have not seen her play in quite a while. Obviously, she is coming off of a loss against Mike Kalinowski and what feels like an entirely different, like, decade of Schmodown. Like, it's crazy to think about. I mean, I kind of worry that this is going to be a situation similar to Dan Murrell coming back to face Andrew Guy. What do you think, Boggs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good match, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, because she hasn't played in a while, I would have liked to have seen her run through the gambit a little bit because, like, the top 10 of Inner Geekdom now is like unreal. So I would have liked to have seen her have 1 or 2 matches before just to see where she's at. So yeah, but overall, yeah, interesting comeback. Yeah, great match. You know, him against. Because I even if I was her, I would have liked to have had a match before because, you know, knowing what the level that Chandru's playing at the moment, I would have maybe just to see where I'm at, so get the rust off, that kind of thing. But it looks like she's cashing in, so fair play on her.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be an intense one. I do worry about Mara again, just because, you know, she is coming off of like years now. But at the same time, as far as we know, she's just been in the Inner Geekdom dojo. You know, she's been down in the sewers with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just going ham on it. Colin, what do you think?
No reason to think that the woman who hasn't been training the champ, or, you know, Dan Murrell, for Inner Geekdom wouldn't be prepared for Inner Geekdom. No reason to believe anything other. I think she's the best test for Chance to prove whether or not he's the best, the GOAT, because I think this is the last test that he has to prove because she's beaten all the people he never got to play. So if he can go through, and that's my rule, I always like to make the joke, well, we beat the team to beat this team, so that means we're better than the team that they beat, even though they're way better than our team. It's that kind of joke of, well, if I can beat who, you know, you can do that.
Yeah.
It'll put him in a certain stratosphere that'll be kind of untouchable if he defends it twice. It's a different realm. Jason Inman was receiving. Boggs and I have gone back and watched a lot of the Inner Geekdom matches from times and what these question writers. This is a totally different question writing group than Mara faced before, but she's been keeping up. I think if Jason Inman came back right now, he would have some issues. But Mara coming back, the stuff that made her better than the other players in the past, seeing her rise up, was that she was nailing the little morsel nuggets, those little tiny nuggets of information that separate a Chance, a Chandru, and Amara from everyone else, is that their ability to focus in on the specific. So I think that's what, I mean, this is, I can't lean one way or another because I haven't, even when Mara lost, was that because she lost at the live match, right?
She lost to Mike.
She lost to Mike at the live match, and she had one of the best performances in Schmodown history against Rachel the Crusher Cushing. When, like, you think having COVID was bad, these two might have had like COVID-17. I don't know. This was like the prequel to COVID. These two looked like they were way past health regulations, by the way. Right now, those two would not be allowed in the same room with everybody else if they were like that. And looking back on like how many people were probably in that room while they were both visibly just destroyed physically. They're like, oh, I might have to go. Like, Mara's like, I might have to go puke during this match. Like, she was.
You guys
being
remember
serious.
being in the same room as people?
Oh, don't you remember that? That was so great. It just seems
Gentlemen,
that she's kind of got the she's got the itch again. So it seems like this is going to be pretty heavy. Pretty heavy.
Well, I do think it'll be heavy. And we've just been having quite the heavy conversation. Let's talk about something that is anything but heavy. And that would have
so glad I didn't see this coming.
Between Kevin Smith and
I didn't.
Support Klaus. Did you mean my incredible segue, or did you mean the return?
I'm so upset. Like, I try to watch a little bit of SEN just to like scrub through if Christian said something important, because sometimes he drops shit in there. Like the episode, like on Thursday's episode, he was like, "Oh, if we get to $1,500, Brett's gonna host the show." And then it was at like $400, and then people just started banging out $100 donations. And he had already set like prior, like I'll drop a player who's going to be in the draft, and I'll drop something for next year if we get to a certain point. And then they started encroaching on the Schmodown news, and I'm like, oh well, shit. Now I got to stay around to the end because I got to see if if this is going to get to 1,000. And they got like a couple $100 short. But Brett's sitting there like, oh shit, what if I actually have to host the show tomorrow, like the day before the spectacular? You could see he was getting like very, very nervous because I don't think he could do it with a straight face without giving something away, because this was something special. That was like, I hadn't like, I knew the second he was like, I'm not competing. I was like, oh, okay. I knew exactly where this was going, but I totally out of left field. I loved it. The Flirt and Flounce was like the first start of quarantine for kind of everyone in this community. I think he was like kind of the first thing that everyone was kind of brightened everybody's day after. It'd been a while since we'd had like a little meme in the SEN community since win a goldfish here, something like that. But man. And then Kevin Smith just played right along. How did they get Kevin Smith to just roll in and be like, hey, can you get my daughter some tickets to a concert? Like this, he played ball.
Well, so this match for me was on like at 3:30 a.m. So because as soon as the kind of intro started, I thought, okay, I'm going to go to sleep now, because it's just going to be Brett against Kevin Smith, right? Like, okay, I hope for a fun match, but how fun is it going to be? So I didn't know it was a Flirt and Flounce until I woke up and watched it. So I was like, wow, it was a crazy surprise. Like I should have guessed it. I completely didn't. But yeah, that was such a good choice, man. Such the right kind of energy to use and personality, and just that character. And yeah, Kevin Smith seemed to get it. His improv, a few shots at like German. I thought he was Dutch originally. Was that just me, or I could swear he was Dutch, but they went with German anyway. And but yeah, it's super fun. But I think the thing of the match for me is Kevin Smith can play, man. Like he is, I don't know, like I think he's a top half singles player. I don't know how many singles players that we have, maybe 30 or so. I think maybe top 50. I think he can beat a lot of players. Like the random stuff that this guy will know, the deep stuff, the pop culture stuff, the history, like from like 60s, 50s, that kind of stuff that this guy will know. I want to see him tested, whether it's Brittany Young or someone else, or but I legit think he can hold his own against a lot of competitors. How good, I don't know. I would like to see that, definitely, but it's like exciting for how far he can go, because he can definitely play. I'm super interested, seeing how far he can go. I mean, he's kind of like Dan Morrill and stuff, but I don't know.
He's got a special mind. I think if you take Ethan Irwin and you dumb down your expectations, because the way Ethan Irwin's brains works isn't in the way that I would say Adam Collins's brains work, in the way that they get to questions are completely different. While they're both great players, their process of how they get to an answer is completely different. Ethan goes through the process of the production of a movie, what he remembers about the production of the movie, and that's how he gets the most answers concerning the film, at least even getting to what a movie is, right? So if you like how he could somehow break down his doing it, it's just different than a fan's perspective. Kevin's rare. He's both. So where he has intimate knowledge of, 60s Westerns, or 1980 slasher films, he can pull out the comic book reference. Oh, of course, he's the comic book man himself, and he's got a very dynamic range of knowledge, and some of it is super deep, and it's impressive that he's doing this. And he's like, I'm just gonna play stoned, and then he's like, oh, he forgot his board. The second he forgot his board, I was like, oh no, he's gonna win this match. He's kind of in the zone, because he was just ready to go, right? He was just ready to play. He was like, oh, I'll be next. Wait for my answer. Oh, I have to write this down, and then gets it right. I mean, he goes 9 out of 10. No, he goes 8. He goes 8. No, he got 9 points. He goes 8 out of 8. He gets a first round, right? He gets the perfect round, and then the Flirt and Flounce holding with 6 points was just so great. See, it was just real nice to see that this wasn't over in round one by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, as far as thinking about who Kevin Smith might be able to go up against next and to really test himself, I think some of that Supergirl synergy going on. We get Kevin Smith in the ring against Mark Andreyko. Like that could be an absolutely very fun match. And
Mark
you know, this match.
With them.
One thing I would definitely say that was shocking as well was not just the return of Kevin Smith, but the departure of two folks that have kind of become staples of the early season this year, at least. That would be the departure of Grace Hancock and the departure of Kate Mulligan's accent, apparently. Apparently neither of those things are going to be around next year. Are you clapping for me again? And my awesome... I just keep saying that after every segue. Colin, do you love me? Do you love me?
Of course I love you.
Oh,
That's like my brothers. That's why we can fight.
that's right. Oh, yeah. No, exactly. Like, to be clear, none of us have any ill will towards each other, towards
I'm not going to
Christian or
talk to
Mark.
John the entire week. I'm not going to tell him about all the great new things I've been watching. But Kate saying you can't advise someone if you don't ever give them advice is one of the coldest things I have ever heard come out of somebody's mouth towards another person on this game. But that's kind of been Grace's attitude, which Grace could definitely be the person in the mask, by the way. If there's anyone Shmo Minati who smells like Shmo Minati, it's Grace Hancock. And
What if it's Emma Fife? What if it's the return of Emma Fife and it's, remember when they teased that Emma Fife and Grace were going to be co-managing at the start of the year, and that obviously did not happen, as Emma Fife, God bless her, went on to be one of the hosts of Ven TV, which, by the way, I don't know if we've said it yet. Congratulations, Emma. Well deserved.
I watch all the time. The Download is fantastic. If you're not watching the Download, they got Sasha Grey on a sex show on a tech network talking about just being sexual beings, and sometimes we just gotta fuck. And it's Sasha Grey talking to nerdy people in the in tech industry, and that's on the same channel. They've got so much going on. They got like being in like a fitness show for nerds too. They got a dude over there who's doing some fitness stuff. Like it's a cool little thing. They kind of took G4 and really freaking millennialized it and kind of took it to the next level, which I was really impressed with.
I was about to agree with Guy. Like, I'm glad that she's dropping it now. She can just kind of, because I feel like just Kate kind of wanted to, but she like couldn't take it, like in the whole management thing. I mean, like just take it that 5-10% more seriously, where sometimes her players needed that, but because she's so character focused, she couldn't do it, kind of thing. So I felt like she was a bit restricted. So I'm glad it's dropped now. So just next season, so she can focus properly on being serious in terms of moments where you need to talk to your players and stuff. So so she hasn't got that restriction around her. So I'm glad that she dropped it now and she can move forward. So I mean,
as far as criticizing a manager, criticizing Kate Mulligan for being too funny, I think is probably one of the better criticisms to get. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how Kate Mulligan does now that she's got a whole new vibe. Did I say Kate or did I say Emma? Because I just saw Guyane in the chat going,
happy that we were talking about Emma.
Yeah.
She's probably a little behind. She'll catch up.
Who knows? Who knows what I'm talking about? I'm an idiot. Anyway, two people that aren't idiots.
Oh, we all picked Kevin Smith, by the way.
Yes.
What?
We all picked Kevin Smith. Free point. Check in the middle of the bingo board. You get a free piece in the middle of your bingo board to catch everybody up. John and I are. Wait. Boggs was the only one that picked Chandru. So point Boggs. That was your first point of the night. And so John and I are up 3-1
as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes. We all picked odd couple, excuse me. So two for Boggs, 3 for me, and
well, I got 3, including no, sorry, you're right. I think.
I was definitely at 4 because I did this math earlier, and 4 is going to be my limit, folks. I can only get so many predictions so right. You've seen it on the show before. Every now and then I'll get it right, but more often than not, I get it wrong. And two people that have pretty continuously proven me wrong are Shannon Barney and Adam Collins. And new. That's a sentence that Christian said because we got a new champion. And no, it wasn't lay champion, as they say over there in Tim Horton world. It was actual belt champion. That's what I call Canada. Just the land of Timothy Horton.
Okay.
That's their prime minister, right? Or is that their king? I don't know
my
how.
God. Wow. We just lost.
I don't know. Do they
Canada.
still have a monarchy over there?
Nope.
I don't know what they get up to.
She's still on the money though. I'm pretty sure. No, I'm pretty sure
they have
that's true.
Don't they have coins straight up called loonies and toonies? Goofballs. I think that's straight up part of their currencies. They have loonies and toonies. All right. I don't mean to roast your whole country, but don't have currency called loonies and toonies, and then we can talk. This was a really good match. Dang. Dan Murrell versus Adam Collins. Even though it didn't go the points correct towards predicting matches way that I wanted, this was, for me, absolutely had to have been match of the night. This was the one I enjoyed the most and the one that truly went down to the wire. Colin, what were you thinking about this match, bud?
Oh, I mean, this was it's everything you wanted. This is the main event. When you get to the main event, I'm exhausted at this point. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one of us that marathon the whole thing live. Okay. That's another reason why I'm a bit more on edge today. I'm fucking exhausted and just did 5 hours of content with Boggs before we got to this. Breaking down the entire Disney Investors Day thing, which is just trying to get through that was a minefield. Yeah, and so getting to this at the end of the night, I mean, I was just happy to be alive at this point, and the fact that Adam was even not just hanging, but this is exactly the type of Guyanese behind. This is exactly the type of thing that Adam needed to take into next season, because he would have had a lot of people that were like, "Oh, it was just a foozy. It was, just a one-off run. It wasn't, he caught fire." I probably would have compared him to Joe Flacco, and that's a football reference. And it would have been the new Merle order would have just been supplanted, and the double GOAT status would have been the story of the night, would have been the champs' reign of older days, and they're here to stay. As long may they reign. And now Adam Collins has come in and he put that flag on the moon, folks. He's taken it. I mean, Dan's got a problem with first years. He's got a lot of problem with first year players that come in, and I think he's kind of he's like a Boggs. You might agree with me on this. He's like a boxer that kind of feels him out, right? And he takes him a bit too long in some instances to kind of get comfy, and it helps when you have a manager. We can talk about that as well. I think that's the one thing we can take away from that, and then leading into the conversation of season 8 is a lack of Bobby Gucci. So John, that was a bit of a shock. Apparently, even according to the champ at the time, Dan Murrell didn't even know that Bobby Gucci wasn't going to be there for the match.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick shout out, Leo Logan. I think you might be right on the money there about that, Leo. Definitely, especially if Johnny Depp was in Public
That's exactly what I said. I said
Yeah.
the exact same thing, Leo. I said, "Oh, Johnny Depp," because I was like, "Oh, the movie where Johnny Depp gets blown away outside of the movie theater." Nope, Gangster Squad. That was.
There you go. How about that? Yeah. And I mean, it does, certainly not like shades of Dan Murrell versus Ben Bateman 2, where like that one was really kind of on edge. We were just kind of like, oh, what's happening? But that was kind of like a bit of a system shock in its own, where it's like for that to have kind of the ramifications that it wound up having, even though Collins did miss his 5-pointer. It was just really crazy to see just how down to the wire this match went. This is definitely not a match where either competitor should feel ashamed or embarrassed in how they did, because I thought both of them were on point with it. But yeah, to your point, Colin, I was kind of curious I was a little bit surprised to hear that we were only getting 8 factions coming out of this, because it kind of seemed like the stage was set for an Outlaw Nation faction. Like, that's kind of where I thought things were going. That maybe Roka, maybe that's where he was setting his sights on. You know what I mean? I kind of thought that might be the vibe, but that was also assuming that Roka and Merle were going to be inseparable and ride off into the sunset together, which maybe that's what would have happened if Dan had walked away with a W. But the fact that Finstock made his stance pretty clear, it seems that his plan is to drop Dan Merle and keep Roka. I think he said Barbarian and Dimolanta. I think those were the 3 names he shouted out specifically. I can't remember if it was Barbarian or Mark Riley, though. Mark Riley also probably someone he's keeping his eyes on. But it's very interesting because obviously I've talked before about how I'm more of a newer fan. I jumped in around the Anarchy tournament. And so by the time I was watching, I was just kind of assuming that one thing that was a given and would be a given in the Schmoedown was this idea of the 4 or 5 horsemen. And throughout the years, that lineup has shifted a whole lot. Several people have gone, several people have come in. But kind of the cornerstones of that did appear to be Dan Merle and John Roka. So the fact that we're getting the 2 of them clashing again, the fact that Roka had a little bit of a costume change coming out of that match where he shifted the track jacket and glasses for the NWO and the cowboy hat, I was kind of like, ooh, boy, like this is going to be a rivalry. We're going to get big mad about this one. So I'm really curious to see how that goes. And I think a lot of it is going to wind up hinging on who Dan has as a manager. Because, we've seen all throughout this season that having a good manager who gets you, like, that's a twofold thing. Like, not just a manager who's generally good, not just a player who's generally good. To have, like, 2 people that are really lined up and can boost each other up, like, that could be intense depending on who Dan partners with. Can we talk about how Collins is now 1-3 in 5 matches?
What do you mean, Matt?
Barbarian, Roka, Dimolanta, right. Dagnino dissed Riley as well. Oh, snap. So yeah, then that means that's another one where I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to Riley, because if Finstock is booting Riley as well, I mean, he's certainly not thinking about keeping Ben Bateman. So it's really curious to see now what kind of happens to the remnants of who's the boss. You don't lose in OT, you just have a lesser win. Fool's Gill, I think you're right on the money there as well. I think that's a very fair point. 1-3 for 5 pointers. I think you're right about that. Yeah. Ooh. I mean, that's another thing where it's like, that's kind of one of those things to keep in mind where it's like Collins is looking unstoppable. Everybody's stoppable. Dan Merle, the GOAT, was stoppable in this match. Could we see a Merle Riley reunion, Leo? I think it's possible. Yeah. I mean, now that they are kind of splintered off from Finstock, but I think a lot of it is going to depend on who other factions kind of eye up. I think if it were to happen, it would most likely happen with Sam Levine, because I feel like Sam, he knows that his faction is kind of poo-poo garbage, and I think that if he's like, if I could lock down Ethan Irwin and then maybe Dan Merle and Mark Riley, like if he can get those down, if he can learn from his mistakes this season, like that could, Colin's thinking about that faction right now, and he doesn't want any part of it.
No, I don't want it to exist. That's a terrible trio. Like you just remade the Finstock exchange and replaced Roka with Ethan Irwin.
Oh, I see. Interesting. I mean, I think I think it kind of would depend.
I go into GM mode.
It would depend on Sam.
I go into sports GM mode. I'm thinking now we're seeing what made a successful team this year. Let's look at the top 3 teams this year and let's look at how they were broken down in terms of being successful, right? Roxy looked at Alex Damon and said, she said yesterday, wow, thank God I can actually have you playing Star Wars in the position that I drafted you in for the first time all season. And then he ends up he won a match in the Intergeekdom tournament and then lost in the second round. So he still got points in a division he wasn't supposed to be in. And then she had the odd couple go on to win the belts, to win the team's tournament. And she's got it spread around pretty good at the top. And in singles, she got going in singles. I guess Snyder going to the finals of the singles tournament. So points spread around right there works. I just look at it when you mention those three guys. Those three guys have, in terms of Riley, Dan, and Ethan, it's just something about they need that spark. It's kind of what I was mentioning about Sam. Those are four dudes that can't bring their own heat necessarily to like a knife fight, like if you bring, like they'll bring their fist, but somebody's going to bring a knife to the fight, and they're not the dudes that are going to instinctively bring a knife to the fight. They need that dirty player. They need somebody with them in their corner, and I don't think Sam is that for Riley or Dan. That's what I always kind of liked about the Finstock and Dan pairing, is that they're so different that Dan's never going to talk shit, but Finstock will talk Dan shit for him all day long till the cows come home, because Dan should, right? You should. If you're the best for this long, you should go out and swing it around a little bit, and Dan never does, so he needs somebody to do it for him. And I think that's kind of what these guys need going forward. I'd love to see him. First thought for Riley, swag. I think pairing him with Paul Oyama, I think keeping Paul Oyama and keeping Chandru, and obviously then not obviously, if I have to think about it, would be Ace. I would keep.
Were you
Ace.
deciding between Ace and Liz?
Yeah, you're right. Between Ace and Liz, and then I would bring in Mark Riley as a free agent and pair him with Paul Oyama, and that I think would be a nice little bit. I think that's a kind of fiery pairing that is a bit of an odd couple in itself in terms of their personalities, but I think on the battlefield they can mesh.
I like that. I will say this. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and say this is an instance where you're right and I'm wrong, Colin. I think that's a pretty really well thought out thing you're saying there. I think, again, kind of, talking about that point spread, I think what we've seen as well is a lot of these factions, it's not like they're relying on their one or two god tier competitors, because as we saw with Usual Suspects, Sam Levine had Ethan Irwin, and he certainly didn't wind up last, but obviously having that one god tier competitor can only get you so far. So I think definitely trying to find the spark with like which players are going to wind up vibing with which managers. I think that's probably what a lot of this holiday season is going to be all about, since we're not going to be getting any Schmodown for a minute. It'll be really interesting to see kind of who vibes with whom. I could see Dan Murrell signing with Swag as well, just because, again, kind of thinking about that very comedy, kind of like lively energy that I think Swag has specifically, partially just because, they have one of my favorite players, which is Lon Harris. I know no one's going to agree with me on this, and that's okay. I think Lon should be in conversation for Player of the Year, but we can get into that another time. Dan is a free agent and a major upgrade over Lon. IDK if Riley is an upgrade over Lon. Yeah, I mean, it is, again, kind of be that question of, as far as who do you have already, who are your likely three, and then what are you going to be able to do beyond that? Like, even Corruption, you could see them kind of like sweat a little bit, where they're talking about like, hey, nobody better take Marisol and Laura, but you can kind of already hear in their voices where they're like, that's the plan, we need this. And obviously I'm not saying, oh, here's the people that are going to poach those players, but it is kind of like that question of like, a lot of folks are now trying to figure out, like how much of the faction are they going to fight to save, and how much are they going to be willing to roll the dice, maybe lose out on some of the good players that they've had this past season to try and pick up someone like Damrell. Like that's a lot. Matt Thomas, I love Lon. He deserves so much love. Couldn't agree more with you, Matt. I would say that Lon, as far as, getting some surprise wins and also being a part of Final Exam, one of the best teams of the year, definitely agree that Lon is one of those entertaining kind of guys who also still has the knowledge. So it will be interesting to see like who Winston kind of prioritizes. I think Shannon's picks kind of set the tone here a little bit. I think largely the focus is going to be on choosing those singles and teams players, which makes sense. Those are the divisions that get the most play. But it probably means that we're going to be seeing a lot of those inner geekdom and Star Wars people be kind of like particularly tossed back up into the air. So it'll be interesting to see where those pieces land, because I don't know, like, for example, I don't know if Robert Parker is still going to be with the dungeon. I don't know if Winston will feel like he's going to keep both Chandru and Ace if he feels like he wants to preserve Final Exam. Like there is a lot of there's a lot of stuff that could happen. Bugs, what are your kind of thoughts as far as this whole faction shakeup? I feel like I've been talking for, quite frankly, too long.
A very long time. I don't know if you're aware. Like you guys have been passing it back to each other for about half an hour. But anyway, back to the
Thanks,
'cause
Coach.
I've not even commented on Raw.
I'm so
Collins.
sorry, Bugs. God damn
I
it.
couldn't
I'm
interrupt.
sorry,
You guys
dude.
were flowing. You guys were flowing. But overall, I did like that match. But anyway, we've moved on from that. So
I know, dude, Bugs, please.
it doesn't matter.
I'm
Doesn't matter.
so
It's fine.
sorry, dude.
You were flowing. You were flowing. Yeah, just overall, I'm glad to see the Outlaw back. We were calling. We spoke to this with Chance, I believe. About time he comes back. So yeah, good to see him back calling these guys out. Whether he's right or wrong, I don't care. As long as he's back with that intensity, taking shots at Morrow, taking shots at Bateman. Okay, let's do it. And Bateman, playing that heel card as well. So I like it. Brings story. Brings more interest. And yeah, I'm up for that. But yeah, who's Swag? Yeah, I mean, who Finstock? Who's he gonna pick? I mean, he did say the three names there, but he's clashing with a lot of the players. Sabrina said she wants to leave as well. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but I mean, we'll see in the draft. So yeah, there's too much to predict now for me because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's but you mentioned there about Swag. I don't know who they're going to pick. He's definitely got a tough one there. You would think Oyama, and then the other two. I mean, you have to keep Chandru being a champion, and then it's between Ace and Liz. You're right, really. I mean, with respect to Lon, but would you keep Ace? That's the predicament. That's a predicament. But yeah, anyway, the tight faction wars and stuff. But how about manager of the year? What are you guys saying? What do you guys reckon?
I mean, I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like part of me is like Shannon, obviously. Like she won the faction war as being the manager of the faction that won. That's what happens, is you get that award. And certainly I'd be hard pressed to say that she doesn't deserve it. But I'd also be hard pressed to say that you can't give respect and you can't have Winston Marshall in that conversation, that you can't have Roxy Stryer in that conversation. A little bit more of a dark horse competitor for that category, but Koi Jandreau as well. I think it made a solid case, similarly to Roxy, kind of like after finding his footing as a manager and kind of coming back in the latter half of the season. Those are kind of my top four picks. Within Finstock in there at the number 5 slot. What about you, Bugs?
So I am gonna say, yeah, obviously Shannon's the easy pick. So I think she's done the best picks in terms of strategy, in terms of best drafting the best, in terms of putting the best players in the best tournaments, making the right calls that way, and obviously doing great in matches on the day as well. But I would say the best manager of the year for me, obviously shout out to Koi as well, who's had kind of a handful of strong players and done well with them. Same with Roxy, but I would say Winston for me, because having just one elite player kind of at the start of the season in Oyama, and then the rest coming through, having them emotional moments on in live matches sometimes, with Chandru, with Ace, as underdogs, even Liz as well, even Final Exam as a team. He's leveled players up to A players in their respective divisions, which Corruption already had A players. Obviously, even Koi already had A players in Shazam. Thingy already had A players. Roxy with the R couple. So I think him only having the one A player. Again, maybe you could say Chandru, but even still, like I said, Inner Geekdom stacked, with 10 elite players. So he was just kind of amongst them. So I believe Winston's done the most work from scratch. So I believe for me, he's my manager of the year. But yeah, what about you, Colin?
I really hope Shannon does not win the award just because I know how much work Winston's put into this. I know how the late nights he's done, and I'm not saying Shannon hasn't, but That's not the stories we hear about Shannon. These are the stories we hear about Winston, right? These are not like we hear about Adam. We hear about Adam Coyote Collins is why he's up for player of the year. Should be for his on and off the field efforts, about how Chance telling us about how he was training him for the IG tournament and then helping him get back in shape for the singles tournament. He was a big part of that. That's different when it comes to when we hear about Chandru and Ace, that Winston is up at what o'clock of night watching movies with these guys, studying with them over and over again. And he set the tone at the beginning of the year for what I now see as the type of manager I would want to play for if I was trying to be successful in the Schmoedown. He gives you, he never backs down. He never backs out of a match. Not saying that any of these managers do. He just brings a different level of energy that's infectious. And Shannon's a little bit too cocky, and it showed in the Chance match where her regular bits only work when you're ahead. When you're down and Shannon's your manager, she does not have the Mickey stuff in the corner to bring you up out of the depths of despair. It seemed like that was really prevalent in the Chance match where he got into his own head and there wasn't a whole lot she knew how to do to pull him out of it by being like, hey, look at me. You know, that kind of stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of like, think back to whatever, you know, trying to somehow take him out of the match, bring them together, and then re-enter the match as a solid unit like a coach will do when, you know, somebody makes a mistake in a game. You pull them aside, you correct the mistake, you admit it, and you just move on to the next one. Just seems that Winston has done this over and over again, where even when Ace was trying, he kind of he was himself, what he's been doing all year. He still took the L. Not for Ace, but then came back with the Chandru match, and it's game on again. The same thing. I mean, Shannon did go on to win the match with Adam, so that's not to take that away. It just seems like when I judge you on the losses, just how you handle losses and how you compete within losses says more about your managing style than I think it does in wins. At least this season, because you can really see how a manager reacts themselves. Because I think it says more like how will they react to the player and how do they take it themselves. And I just see that Winston is my pick. And it goes Winston. I even say Roxy 2, Shannon 3, and Coy 4. But Shannon going up to 2 is highly arguable because of the way she drafted. And Boggs, you mentioned that. The way she drafted was very strategic. The free agent signing of Adam Collins, nobody knew. I mean, that's a throwaway pick in a fantasy draft that the guy ends up being the starter by the end of the season and he's a star, right? It's just something that you can't predict. It's one of those things. That's why sports is fantastic, and that's why this is so relatable to sports, because the rise of Adam Collins is something we haven't really seen before because he wasn't the most popular fan league guy. I mean, we sort of heard rumblings of Paul Oyama or Chance Ellison before coming from fan leagues, but Adam just kind of came out of nowhere in that free agency special, at least to me, and not going anywhere. That's probably my most anxious person. I'm most anxious about to see in a live match. How does he handle under the lights? Put him under the lights and let's see how it goes. Because that's kind of my wait and see on Adam Collins. I'm not quite there. I'm not putting him on the pedestal just because there's a whole other type of game we have to play here. This is all fun and games. You know, I like season 7's been cool. We got to get back in the studio. When you get back in the studio, let's see if you can put the guns up and if you can hang with the big boys and girls. Because when we get under the lights, it's time to shine. And we're going to see.
Ooh.
Oh, you know, the Schmoedown. No, the Schmoedown. Like when the Schmoedown gets under the lights, it's a different game. It's a totally different atmosphere. And you can see that. You can see that some players this year are completely different than they are when they're in the studio, just because they're in the safety, they're in the comfort of their offices, their rooms. It's a little harder for them to get into character. For some, it's a little easier. We'll see what happens. I'm very excited to see what happens because it's going to be it's anything can happen. It's war.
That's right. And we've had a little bit of a war ourselves here but we, of course, all made up because we're happy, good boys, and we all just love talking about the Schmodown with each other. Leo Logan in the chat. I think probably my manager rankings is the same as you. But again, like we've been saying, like the real stars are going to be Shannon, Winston, and then Roxy coming in clutch, kind of in this latter half. I think if this award goes to any of the three of them, I think probably I'm not going to have any complaints. Boggs, is there anything you feel like you really want to touch on before we wrap this puppy up? Because we're nearing blockbuster film lengths right now. You are someone that I have talked over for far too much of this show. What else you want to talk about, bud? What do you feel like we got to hit on before we leave the people?
No, I didn't. I think, Colin, you've got some notes about the rules and stuff next year that they announced.
Oh, yes. So
Yeah.
before everybody locked in their stuff, which we now know, Shannon had 7 days to lock in her 3 picks, and then free agency begins.
Mhm.
The award ceremony is going to be in the beginning of January. The free agency special will be the week after. No date specifically given. It says each faction locks down 3 out of that free agency period. So that's the part where we got a little tripped up and confused on earlier. You can choose to have an agreement with your 3 players, but essentially what we're looking at here is unrestricted free agency on a league-wide scale. Which I think is wow. So we got, other than Finstock keeping his 3 dudes, which he says are Barbarian, Roca, and D. Malanta. Other than those 6 players with Chance, Adam, and Mike, they can go wherever they want to whatever manager will accept them, and those managers will choose 3 players. Everyone else enters the free agency pool, and then it's draft time. And we are going at it when we have Sam Levine, the usual suspects, Coy with the quirky Mercs. The Rock Stars have dropped the rocks, just stars, like the channel. Kate, Gucci, Kaiser, No More Burning Droogs, Shannon, and Swag. And we will have a snake draft. So that means that the first pick will have the 33rd pick. No, well, not the 33rd pick. It would be the 17th pick. So the 8th pick has the 9th pick, and then it goes in reverse order. So some people aren't going to like that. I'm not the biggest fan of it. This is real sports. This is not fantasy sports. If you do this in a fantasy league, that's more the point. But this is when you're able to set yourselves up with 3 players. I think the snake draft is a little shitty. I'm not going to lie. I think that's kind of a cop-out, and I think we're going to see some unweighted teams. I think we're going to see some pretty heavy unbalanced teams I think, because at this point, then, if you have Kaiser and Kate being able to go out and recruit people, like, why would you not want to go play for Kevin Smets, right? Go be on that squad this season, and just go fight with them. There are actual pitches that these teams can make that are not that could be game changing for the league, and then they get 2 picks in a row, and it's just a little different. And then you got whoever's picking first gets 2 picks in a row. So it's gonna be.
I mean, my only understanding of sports comes from how they picked teams in the movie Pitch Perfect, where it's just all right, each team chooses one person to come forward, sing a Cup song, and if they like their Cup song, then they get to be on the team. It's very confusing. I don't know sports too good. Yeah, I think I think you've got a point there that it's going to be interesting to see how heavy loaded some of these teams are. And it's also going to be interesting to see how many folks kind of stick to the rubric. You know what I mean? How many factions are trying to have huge shakeups. Obviously, you've got folks like Dan Merle, Mark Riley. We've talked about them to death. But it's also interesting to think about the fact that all of the Droogs are now up in the air. And, obviously the Droogs were not a huge winning faction, but you do have folks like Jader Paramo, who made a good showing this season. You got folks like Alonzo Duralde and Whitney Seibold. Maybe you don't want to team them up again because that's going to be 2 picks off the board, but certainly either one of those guys, maybe you want to snatch them up, pair them with somebody. Brandon Hanna is an Inner Geekdom competitor and a Teams competitor. So that's 2 things. That's what I've got to say about Brandon Hanna. And he's got Sabrina Ramirez, and he and Sabrina Ramirez are together, co-billing. That's another 2 people. Oh, the possibilities. Oh my gosh. I think my brain just got to the point that you've been at, Colin. My brain is flat out pooped. Oh, you're so muted, my dear boy.
I'm just not a fan of like how this is being handled.
Can I be honest? I don't know what a snake draft is. I'm going to be honest. I was going to be quiet about it.
Okay, but you got it. Okay, but you understand now?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, Bach. So if we have 8 teams, the first pick picks first. The 8th pick then gets the first pick in the next round, and then the first pick gets the last pick in that round, and then it keeps repeating. It's an ABBA, ABBA, ABBA. So it's like it repeats. So the order. So Kaiser would get 2 picks in a row, and then he wouldn't get another pick until the last pick of the next round.
Okay.
So then everyone then gets to pick twice in between your 2 picks, basically.
Right. Okay.
And if you're in the middle of that snake draft, it's a bitch. That's in anything you're doing. If it's in fantasy sports, if it's in real sports, if you're in the middle, you are just you're zonked. You guys better have a plan because it's going to be weird.
Do you know the board game Snakes and Ladders? It's like half of that game.
I guess that's one way to put it.
Right.
It just means oh, Matt says he loves the middle. Okay, whatever, Matt. It's weird because you're either at the top and you're going to get some really. It's easier to formulate, give some people an easier time, and it makes their teams, I think, better in terms of how they are spread. There's not going to be this gap in talent. There's a huge gap if you have 3 players on whoever's picking first, right? So whoever's picking first is going to be Kaiser, presumably, right? Kaiser would be picking first if he's in last place, right? So then he gets whoever the best player is available, which we don't know who that is because there's only 3. That'd be 6 times 3. That'd be 18 people. So take the next best 18 players off the board, and then that's the next best player you're left with. So who's the number 1 pick after the top? Who's the 30th best player? So it's weird. It's definitely going to be weird, but that's what I think. I mean, the more people we get into this thing, the more even it'll be. But there's just so many unknowns. That's how somebody like Adam Collins gets through the free agency special after the draft, which is why it was always weird to me that they were having free agency after the draft. That's just not how sports works. It's just sometimes it's just really they do it at the NBA and it's kind of weird.
I guess it's probably just because like with the pandemic and everything, there were enough people that were like exiting that had been drafted where they're like, we need to have
they had to reload.
Agency. One thing I think that we should do before we talk about this next time is go back and check out exactly where everybody was in the draft position last year, especially looking at like where Shannon and Winston were and trying to be like, all right, who can have a good shot at this? Who might have a good strategic like standing point? Just looking at how things shook out last time.
And to wrap up, going back to the singles final, John picked Dan, Sean picked Dan, Kaiser picked Dan. Sean picked an OT call. That was a good call from Sean. But Boggs and Colin picked Adam Collins.
So who won our draft in terms of most right picks?
Yep, that tracks.
I think I got. How many did you get? I think I got 4.
I got 5.
Okay.
I missed one.
I think Boggs, you and I both got 4, and then Colin's sitting pretty. That's why he's the host, ladies and gentlemen.
I missed the.
He has the high ground.
I missed the.
Hey,
today.
I wonder if there's a show more about the high ground that people could check out
On the Pop Culture Universe. YouTube page.
Yeah, thanks
How
for
about
not saying
that?
popcorn. I appreciate it.
I need to. Yeah, I can't remember. I sometimes say popcorn universe. I mean that flows, right? It's called pop culture universe, John. But I say
Just makes me
popcorn.
think of the old videos.
know.
Pop culture talk.
I
Popcorn
don't know about
talk.
my boys what they get up to.
That's the old days, right? Popcorn talk. Movies, news. Those are the old intro to all those videos. I used to love those. Those were great. The superhero news wasn't there, or are they still there? Popcorn talk.
No idea.
That's the old. It feels like that's a whole other generation of YouTube studio, long ago. So, folks, the plan going forward is Friday shows, and we're gonna be basing each episode like we're talking about the episode again. Each match throughout Spectacular, leading up to whatever free agency awards special. Who knows? I have a feeling Christian wouldn't mind dropping the awards in the same week as a match because we have 6 weeks between now and the beginning of next season, and that's marked with the draft. So we'll see how everything goes in between there. So we'll have Star Wars match this week, which we'll have Ace on the show to discuss. It'll be fantastic. We'll have not Brittany Young or Chris Jericho on the show, but we'll talk about that match and hopefully some news or some signings, maybe people locking down some free agents signings because free agency's going down right now. I mean, news could be breaking. There's no, can I be the Adam Schefter of the Schmodown League? There's this guy
Only
for
if
the
you tell me who
NFL.
that is.
There's a guy for the NFL who tweets out like all the news before everybody else gets it, and he's like the official source. He's like, this person signed with this person for this many years of this many dollars, and I feel like we need somebody for that who's just like constantly up on like who's signing with who.
Okay.
Reality Steve. Gotcha.
Nice. Is that who that is?
No,
Is that who
that's
does it?
who that is for the Bachelor universe.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
This whole thing is just gone like, hey, here's who won.
So, what are our thoughts on what's his face from last week? The Princeton guy on The Bachelor, the Harvard guy. Who is that?
Oh boy. I mean, I at first I was kind of like, this guy's too much, and then I can't do this. I'm not gonna do this to poor Boggs. I personally have already put Boggs through enough. I'm not gonna make him listen to me talk about The Bachelor.
I don't mind.
I think he thinks it's kind of funny. He doesn't.
I don't know, Boggs.
You guys really
Boggs,
love
what
The
do you
Bachelor.
want? Let's ask Boggs what he wants, huh?
If
What do
you
you
really
want,
love The
Boggs, more
Bachelor,
than anything?
I want to hear your review of The Bachelor. Go ahead.
I think Bennett blew it. I think Bennett
Totally blew it.
Yeah. It's this whole thing, and
Why'd
obviously
you give him the gift? And then you had to explain the gift to Tasha. She was like, what's this? What good answer do you have for that after you tell this 24-year-old that he's acting like a child and then you bring him a gift? That's like the most childish thing you could have done.
it just cements the fact that like the producers are some of the worst people on the planet. Because if you read into what like the producers do to get certain things coming out of like Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants, it's awful. And I guarantee you that gift box idea was the producers where they're like, hey, I know you don't like this guy. Oh, I just tripped over this wrapped present with some things you could give to him that would probably make him not very happy. Oops, what am I gonna do with this? Meanwhile, they're just shoving rosé down every man's throat. Just like, you're gonna drink all of this before you go on camera. We need you to be sloshed. I think it's I don't know exactly who's gonna win. I like Ben, but I believe his name is Zach. I think Zach's probably got the best shot right now.
I like Zach. I like who's the rocket scientist? The aeronautical engineer guy.
Oh,
The one whose brother was in jail.
Are you talking about Ivan?
Ivan. I think Ivan's got a shot. To steal the whole thing. It just in the way that she was acting around him, I totally saw it. I was like, she even said, "You're different from anyone I'm usually around." And I like that. Like, it's kind of like, you are not easy. I feel like Easy is a guy that she would use, like, before this process, go out with on a whim and be like, yeah, this guy looks fun. Let's go out on a date. That's, I think he's probably, because we're stuck at the rose ceremony, right? We haven't had the rose ceremony yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't yet, because her whole thing was like, I'm gonna let Bennett on to like potentially stay on. Like it's not quite as egregious as what Peter did with fucking, what was her name? Ariana?
Yeah, Ariana. And then it's not quite what it's not quite Luke P-ish. We have not dabbled into Luke P realm with Bennett. That's reserved for a cold circle in hell for people who are Luke P's of the world.
It's Luke P and Chad, right?
Luke P and Chad. If you are named Luke P or Chad, you are no friends of ours, and we do not trust you. But Boggs, that's as much as we'll put you through today, sir. Because we are getting into Parents Weekend coming up, and it's gonna be a blast. I wonder how long they've kept these poor fuckers in quarantine. That's what I love.
Wow.
Yeah, the fact that they've got a
the
men
parents
tell-all going on, like, hypothetically, these men have just been like, all right, you just got broken up with, now wait in your homes for 8 months so that way we can then bring you back on TV to talk about it. You got dumped. Oof.
And then the dude who Noah, right? Isn't that his name? Noah? He was on it. He was the first shot of the tell-all special. Yeah. I was like, God damn you, ABC! Like, get your editing shit together. Like, come on.
Dude, you watch a Bachelor fan take?
No, I don't. Is it good?
He's a pretty fun. I feel like you would dig him. He does like breakdowns and stuff for Bachelor.
Cool. Well, we do breakdowns of the Schmodown here every Friday on the Ultimate Schmodown Show, and we're moving soon at some point. So keep us in your T's and P's as we pack up this whole place and move it to another channel, which is going to be super duper fun. More on that later, but we got some content coming your way, folks. Ace next week. Please look forward to that. Joining me as always, it's my friend John. Where can the folks find you?
Beautiful song. You can find me at John Barr Tweets on Twitter and Instagram. You can also go to twitch.tv/John Barr. I get up to some shenanigans. Wish we could watch Party Batch with John one of these days, Sky and A. You, me, Colin. We're even going to get Bugs in there somehow. I don't know how yet. We might have to do a full-on, like, trick him to a whole other location, put on a creepy smile mask, bop him over the head, and then bring him back to the Schmominati. But we'll get it going. Don't you worry. That's where you can find me. Bugs, my dear, dear friend, where can people find you?
Thank you, dear John. You can find me at... you don't have to follow me on Twitter. I'm boring on Twitter. You can catch me on the Ultimate Schmodown Show every Friday night live. You can catch me on the Pop Culture Universe, also known as the Popcorn Universe. Fridays we drop we have the High Ground, our Star Wars review show, where we discuss the Mandalorian, and we do Pop Talks every Sunday. So check us out. That's Pop Culture Universe. You're missing out if you don't subscribe there. So check that out.
Got everything coming at you, reviews, trailer reactions, all that good stuff. Everything you want from a YouTube channel, like you've never seen one of those before. But if you like seeing our faces, you can see more of them over there. You can catch me at the _C Morris. You can catch me here whenever I'm here. We're everywhere. I'm exhausted. We're getting out of here. Everybody kick back, relax, enjoy your Sunday, and we will see you guys on Friday for our episode with Ace. And that's it, folks. See you next time. Bye.
Oh man, I'm really glad that of the factions that got toasted, the one called the Droogs is the one that got, because that's the one that I'm just like, why are you naming a team after that? Why do you want to be
having
the like
broadcast?
evil...
I'm just gonna let you keep going.